Hey guys, welcome back. So when we left off, all I did was keep duplicating things and putting them around, and I created this scene. So yours doesn't have to have as much stuff as this, but I just wanted to kind of create, like, I've been looking at this image and kind of inspired by this, like, it's almost abstract, all this stuff that's going on. So that's kind of my reference point. And this is one that I made a little bit ago, a couple days ago, and so you can see how you can take just a few buildings and duplicate them and kind of create like a big epic city if you want. Like, that takes some time. Like, I think I spent a few hours on this, but yeah, have fun with it. Okay, so now if you go up here, you'll see these are the different workspaces you have. Go back to painting. So now we're in painting mode. This is like normal Photoshop. You still have this 3D layer, so you can go back to it at any time. What I'm gonna do is Option, click, and drag. I'm gonna duplicate that layer. Give it a second. And things will run smoother once we get into the painting, because Photoshop won't be trying to manage all these different planes and everything. There we go. Now right click or control click on this and you can rasterize 3D. So now you've got, it's just a JPEG now, basically, or a PNG. I'm gonna save this file. And save a version of this with the 3D layer. So now I can delete that, and then everything will work more smoothly. Give it a second to save. There we go. Trash the 3D. Okay, so now we just have the 2D, and I'm gonna image size, I'm gonna scale this up a bit so when I'm painting we don't see any pixels or anything. Let's do duplicate this too, so we've got it. Now I'm just gonna find the kind of a composition that I like. kind of thinking about this as if it's a movie, a shot in a movie or something. So something kind of cinematic and interesting. It's so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select these blacks. And I'm going to make them not so black. I'm just gonna erase out. Oops. Get a better eraser. There we go. Cool. Now, something I wanted to do, if we go back to this, I'm looking at this and I see all these awesome buildings just fading off into the mist. So I'm going to try to do something similar to that. So duplicating the layer. Shrink it down. Just going to duplicate this back section. Basically, we don't need to be super accurate or anything with this because it kind of just turns into some abstract noise back there. So I'm going to grab this back section I made and bring the values closer together. Because when you're looking at something, as things go back into space, they're going to have less contrast. Keeps doing that. There we go. Ooh, that starts to get really, really cool. See, I like this because this is something I wouldn't have drawn myself. It's just bear with me as I'm doing this. You can do this along. You can do this yourself along with me if you'd like. Back at this image. Yeah, so things really fade off right about here. So I'm going to do one more layer. I'm going to do just a little bit more than what I think, because I can always paint over this and flip this around, see how it's looking. Cool. Now I'm just gonna get that background. I'm gonna go underneath all this that I made. I'm just keeping the foreground and the background separated. Oh, and then this is that original thing. It's crazy. All this came from just this little plate that we made. And this little section of buildings, we made all this with just like 4 buildings, or like 6 buildings. So yeah, let's put a value into the sky. There we go. Okay, now there's a cool trick. This is totally a cheat. Oh, what I did right there, I just did Shift Command Option E. We'll do that again. Shift Command Option E. That copies everything and basically makes a JPEG above. So now you've got everything on one layer. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right here. Now if we go to Image, Adjustments, Color, Match Color, you go to Source. This is the 3D, this is your file that you're using. And then it's going to match these colors to whichever layer you pick. So, alright, so if you click 4, it's going to match those colors to what you've done. So this is totally like a Photoshop trick, but now you've got some colors in there, and it just threw them in kind of randomly, but that gives you like a base to start off of when you're painting. I didn't know you could change the size of your brushes here. Yeah, I'm new to the Photoshop CC. At least this version of it. Yeah, so I'm still like learning stuff. Let's see. I'm just gonna take down the bring this into view. Okay, so basically what I did was I just selected, you can select your other layers, the contents of your layers, by hitting Command and clicking the thumbnail. So like there I've got like the background, and there I've got the foreground elements. So I just separated this out so then I can paint behind the foreground stuff. And I know everyone does their layers and everything separately, or differently, but let me see, I'm just gonna select so I'm just painting some more atmosphere back into here. Some very interesting lighting. The sky color is actually a desaturated red, but it feels kind of cool. I'm going to pull some blues into this background. And let's see. This foreground shape. I'm gonna put a little bit more color into it. Pull it a bit closer, and then while it's selected, I'm going to knock back some of this detail. And that's a giant building. Let's see, I'm going to select select the face of this building and just bump up the contrast a little bit to pull it closer. And then I'm going to put some warms into it. Just very subtle. Now I'm going to merge everything. Duplicate the layer, and then what am I doing? Go to levels. Oops. Still have that selected. Deselect that. Levels. I just brought the lights down a bit, and now I'm gonna do a mask, and that's just this button right here. And that way I can paint into this. So painting black into the mask gives you basically erases. I'm doing this to focus the eye a bit more. I don't want all these lights dragging your eye off of the screen. I want to keep the lights focused in this area. Cool. Now you'll see in this reference way back here, there's some big buildings that kind of stick out, and that's really cool. So what I'm gonna do, whoops, what happened? There we go. I'll just select with the marquee tool, copy, paste. If you do Shift Command V, it'll paste it in the exact same spot. So now you can add a little bit of variation back here. Copy, Shift Command V, transform. And you would never know that you built this from like 5 different buildings. Just crazy. This is how they make cities in movies. They take like they take a handful of buildings, and then they duplicate them, they change little things about them, they turn them around, and then the audience would have no idea, because once you add in lights and all that extra stuff, all the little variations, you can't tell. if we make this guy taller? That's kind of cool. Could spend way too long doing this because you can just get sucked into creating all these different buildings and everything. I'll just do a couple more, maybe this one. I'll just run this one straight off the canvas. All right, now I'm kind of happy with this composition and how things are looking. So what you can do is hint at this detail. There's a couple ways that I do it. I take the lasso tool and I kind of scribble like very impressionistically these little areas where I want lights. Don't try to go in there and paint every perfect little light. You should do a couple of them, but most of them can be very abstract. Once you've got a bunch of them, you can find a texture-y brush maybe. I usually do one with a bunch of hue jitter. And then you can always adjust the colors so they fit in your scene a bit better. Why isn't my brush working? You can make some of these signs that kind of fall behind some of these buildings. So you can like make a square and then cut into it a little bit, so as if it's cut off by a building. I know it's probably hard to see my selections as I'm doing this, but I think this is pretty self-explanatory, and probably all you guys are better at Photoshop stuff than I am anyways. Cool. So now we got some signs in there. That looks pretty cool. And when you step back from it, it's starting to pull together. It's starting to feel like a real city. Another thing you can do is you can make just like a little rectangle. It can be your window brush. You can just kind of tap it around, get some little windows in there. Probably can't see what I'm doing right now, but just painting some windows. And you know those little lights that are on top of buildings? Throw some of those in. And it's important to keep in mind the scale of everything. Look at your reference and see how big these windows are in your reference, because you don't want to throw off the scale by having some big windows in the background or something. So these windows look too big to me, so I'm going to shrink them down. Cool, so one more way to add in some of these details. Let's see. If you just take a rectangle, you add some spacing to it. See what I did. I just oops. I just made a rectangle and put some spacing in the brush, so then I can just draw a line like that and get but if you just drag that out, go to distort, throw it into perspective, you get like really cool feeling of windows there, and then you can just delete the excess. I mean, it's not perfect perspective or anything, but you get the point. What you can do is paint underneath that. Throw in some windows right underneath it. just painting into this a little bit. Let's see. I know I don't want this tutorial to get too long, but I just want to show, like, take a rectangle, paint into these buildings a bit. You know, you can clean them up a little bit. You can add some more lights in there. And yeah, that's basically it. From this point, you know, it's just tweaking things, adding more lights and windows, push and pull some of these values. You know, you see some of these buildings back here, they have a slight darker and more green tint to them. You can just select that, bring it down in value a bit, go to color balance, put some green into it. You'd be amazed at how the right amount of detail in the right place can add so much. But yeah, anyways, there we go. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Feel free to pass it along to your friends if you thought it was helpful. And yeah, thanks so much for checking it out.